Hello everyone, my name is Floyd Muller. I'm from the Exertion Games Lab at RMIT University in Melbourne, Australia, and I want to talk to you about bodily today. Can you hear this all right?
No.
I love that.
No.
It's very awesome. A little bit intro about myself. I'm originally from Germany, that's where the accent is from, but I studied in Australia, and then I work in industry. Zero start and fully zero, so you're going to hear a lot of an industry perspective coming from me today. Then I went back to grad school. I realized I need to enhance my knowledge, worked with Media Lab Europe, and then joined CSIRO, which is like a government research organization in Australia. Went again back to academia, just back and forth, before I became a Microsoft Research Asia Fellow with the team in Beijing that developed the keynote. I'm going to talk about that. And was recently been a Fulbright Fellow at Stanford for a year. And since about a couple of years ago, I directed the Exertion Games Lab at RMIT.
Sorry for interrupting, just to check if your device is open.
Sure. Now it is?
Yeah.
Is it any different?
Yes.
Right? There's no difference for me up here. All good? Back in the back there, okay? Yes?
Yeah.
Great. Did you hear the beginning, or it's my intro slide? See, look at that. That's it. This is much more important. You want to know where we are. Melbourne is up there, right? At the moment, we are right here. At least that's how we see it. This is the design hub. That's where we're in the 4th floor. And these are the people who do the actual work I'm just going to get to talk about. Together, we call ourselves the Exertion Games Lab. Our goal is to inspire industry where games can and should be in 10 years' time. And we've got 2 mantras for that. Mantra number 1 is fail and fail often, because we believe through failure we can accelerate progress. And mantra number 2 is show don't tell. So we develop a lot of interactive prototypes in order to make an argument, because we believe we can make better arguments if people can experience our arguments through prototypes rather than just talk about it. So I'm going to show you a couple of these examples. In one sense, we look at the intersection between technology, play, and the body. We call that exertion games. Simple? Good. All right, that's why I thought we'd try this out. Here's the first exertion game. If I can get all of you please to stand up for 1 second. This is not playing your head. We're going to do a really simple exercise. I want you to take your feet, shoulder width apart, put your hands out like that, and now you're going to sit down back in your chair really slowly, but just stop in front of, just before sitting down. So just hover above the chair. And that's all you're going to have to do. Just hover above the chair. If you don't feel it, you go a little bit lower, and try to make a 90-degree angle between the floor, your leg, here, your thigh, and your back. Right? And you hopefully feel that bodily play is very different than the traditional gamepad game. Right? So we're going to do that for the rest of the talk. Right. Okay, thank you. So that was the first one. How many more? That was always a warm-up. And I acknowledge, of course, you know, there's lots of people working on this, right? We've got games that help us to jog faster. We've got games that help us to cycle faster, further, faster, Strava. There's games that help us to exercise, do warm-up exercises better. But it's not just traditional sports that have been explored by this field. It's also like things such as yoga, right? There's an app that helps you to be more effective in yoga exercises. And there's now even apps that help you become a better lover in bed by measuring the duration, thrust, and decibel peak that you do in your bedroom. Right? And always looking at these examples and go, these always help me, these are games to achieve something, to go faster, to perform better in yoga or in bed. And I always wonder, like, is that all, right? Is that all we can do? And I believe there is. I believe we can do more than that. But in order to do that, I think we need to understand what it is that we're designing for, if not for these points. So I sat down and thought about what do we then design for? And I'm very thankful to Sebastian Dillon, who pointed me to this book by a nurse who interviewed people on their deathbed because she wanted to know what is the biggest regrets that people have when they die. And I thought if you look at the negative thing, maybe we can identify the positive things that we really want to achieve. And so this nurse, this is where it gets really deep, she interviewed people in hospital, right? And here are the top 5 things that people regret at the end of their lives. Number 1 is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life of others expected of me. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. People at university can't relate to that at all. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings, was number 3. Number 4 is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5, biggest regret people have in life, I wish I had let myself be happier. And I think that really strikes me, because here people realize that happiness is a choice. It's not something that's been given to you, it's a choice that you're making. Let yourself be happy. And these are the biggest things that people have on their deathbed in terms of regrets. It's not, I wish I had 50,000 more points in IQ plus, or my dad could have raised me better as a lover in bed. So I wish I let myself be happy. And I think it would be great if you could design for that. I think we can make great, fantastic games if we really design for that. But how do we do that? There's help. Aristotle had actually thought about that. So we look at philosophy, and he's got this idea of the good life. He proposed a little while ago, and the good life is actually what we should strive for. The good life for him is a big concept, but it basically goes about flourishing in one's life. It's about well-being that is probably the most common term used for that today. And well-being is not about the absence of sickness, it's more than that. It's a holistic view. It can be described as long-term life satisfaction. And if you look at long-term life satisfaction, you might go, all right, okay, I can buy that, I will design games for that, but what do we need to do in order to achieve long-term life satisfaction? And I think it's important to recognize long-term life satisfaction, or the good life, is not a state. It's rather a process. So we have to work on that every day of our life. And there we need to realize that acting in concordance with one's own values is the most important thing we need to support. Like acting in concordance with one's own values. So if you want to support that, we need to figure out first of all what our own values are. And I think games are really good in helping us to do that. Because games can develop capacities to act with insight. So I don't want to act just randomly or by accident and achieve the good life. I want to act with insight. And I think games can help us gain this insight. I think if you design games with that in mind, we achieve really great playing experiences. So now the question is, how do we turn that into like practical design guidance? And I propose we should see the body as play. And that's a slight difference to the beginning, the apps that I showed you. They also the body to play. And I propose to see the body as play. Small difference, but I think a fundamental shift in the view how we see and therefore design games. Because I propose, or I tell you, I remind you that when you were born, the first thing you played with was your body, right? You realize, oh, there's fingers, I can play with my fingers. And then you go, oh, there's feet, I can play with my feet. And then you realize, oh, there's a voice, I can play with my voice. Right? So before you had any toys, you already used your body as a resource of play. And that continues, like even before computer games, we started playing sports, right? We use our body as an elemental resource for play. These girls would have never thought about, here's my body, and use it as an interface to the rugby ball. No, that's not how we work. That's not how we think. We see our body as a resource of play. And I think we as a community can learn a lot from sports by seeing the body as play. I'll give you now 3 points that hopefully guide you through this talk in order to help you if you want to support this vision of supporting the body as play. One is the body means action. I'm going to go through each one of them, and then I'm going to elaborate for each. I want to give you the overview. So I'm going to talk about body means action. I'm going to talk about body in action makes our world. And the third, body in action is emotion. 3 things. Very simple. Before I go into these though, I want to talk briefly about a couple of definitions so that we're all on the same page. Play. What is play? Well, we really like Suits, and Suits says playing a game is the voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles. Probably heard that before. That's how we subscribe. I just want to point out 2 things here, voluntary and unnecessary obstacles. If you look at that girl here she decides to just walk on that plank, and that's her voluntary obstacle that she puts in her way. She's only allowed to walk on that plank. Cognitively wise, you would say, why don't you just walk over there? It's much more comfortable, much safer. No, it's because she's a human being, and she voluntarily puts that rule up for herself to only walk on that plank. And why is she doing that? Because she's a human being, and we as human beings thrive on the thrill of having overcome that challenge, that unnecessary obstacle. Play, right there. And that's the same for kids, that's the same for adults. This is a tough mother that we have just around the corner where I live, which is an obstacle course where grown-up men sign up to go through mud. There is barbed wire, there is electric shocks. They just sign up to do this, to not go from A to B, actually end up right where they were at A, pay a lot of money to participate, and they don't even get a medal for it. Why? Because they're human beings and they love having overcome that unnecessary obstacle. They love that thrill that comes with it. So people don't necessarily always want to have it easy. They love these challenges. And we know that. So I define play for you, and now I'm going to define experience, because that's the other word I'm going to talk about a lot. An experience by McCarthy and Wright is an event or a series of events participated in or lived through. Again, there's 2 important things here. Event or series of events, meaning an experience has a beginning and an end. And experience is not everyday life, it's not ongoing, it's got a beginning and an end, number 1. Number 2, it needs to be participated in or lived through. Best example is if you're really stressed because of work and you need to go on a holiday. You can't say, well, I'm really busy to go on a holiday, so I'm going to outsource that to somebody in India to go on holiday for me. Right? That obviously wouldn't work. You need to physically, your body needs to participate in that holiday in order to experience that. And if you know now what experience is, then Suits again reminds us that play is an experience. Simple. And that allows me now to articulate where I think we are with games today, where we were, where we are now, and where we should be. So the first step is to look at the past and recognizing where we've been. And we've been here from playing with the digital. We had a computer and the interface, which was the mouse and keyboard or the gamepad, and we played with the digital. Very clear what the separation was between the player and the digital content. And now, what we have with the Kinect and the Wii and so forth, is that we are playing with the digital using our bodies. We replace the mouse and keyboard with our bodies. But it's still super clear what the digital content is and what is the body, right? What the player is. But what I think what I'm proposing is that what we really should be working towards is experiencing our bodies as digitally played. But there's no separation anymore between the bodies and the digital. And that's what I mean by body as play. Not body to play, but body as play. I'm going to show you a couple of examples where we're working towards that vision. So I said there's 3 themes I want to communicate to you in order to help achieve that vision. The first one is the body means action. And by that I mean is that our bodies are not just objects that are standing still, but they're always moving, they're always in action. Seems kind of obvious, but I think it's important to remember that at every stage. Because if you look at related work, people like Boto a while ago proposed this idea. This is how humans work. Essentially, I call that because it's a really highly cited picture, where he proposed that we have a room, and then we R, then we put a computer in there, C, and then we've got a human. And the human looks like that, and then the human interacts with the computer, which interacts with the room, and vice versa, and therefore we have what he called like augmented interaction or mixed reality. And that picture is still in the mind for a lot of people. And what I'm proposing is A, the human body is not a stick figure that is on the same level like the computer, right? It actually moves around. It's always in action. And it actually hacks the computer, messes with it. So what I really want is put the human body in the center of that experience. Not into the room, no, it starts with the body. That was number one, the body in action. The body in action makes our world is number two. And by that, I give an example from Dag, who is much smarter than me, because he said things such as, we have a world insofar as we have the capacity to act in that world. So if you're as smart as Dag, you immediately get that. It took me a long time to actually understand what he's saying. And here I give you my rephrasing of that. We have a world insofar as we have the capacity to act in that world. What he's essentially saying is, this room here only exists for me because I have the capacity to act in that room. Because I'm acting, because I'm moving around on this stage, I create that room for me. And because you, or Mr. Photographer here, moves around the room differently, he creates a different room for him. And you all create a different room for yourself. That's a very different view compared to the last picture I showed you, where the room is just there and we put humans in there. Now you create that room by being there and acting in it. And that's basically stole that from Merleau-Ponty, but he brings that up into today as well with technology, because we now can actually find evidence for that. And there's this really nice work by people with eye trackers. They showed people a painting, and then observed with eye trackers how people actually perceive a painting, right? Because you might say, well, Floyd, I understand that you're moving around the room, but I'm sitting down there, I'm not acting. How come I perceive a room differently? Well, with these eye trackers, we know now that even if you're sitting completely still, your eyes are always moving. Your eyes are perceiving the room, and therefore you're acting in and with the room. And this is what your eyes do. They look at that painting, and therefore you perceive that picture in a certain way. And interestingly enough, if you show the same picture now to a professional painter, somebody who's done painting for many, many, many years, that painter looks at that picture very differently. He or she would know, can't explain it, but your eyes go very differently if you're an expert in painting. And because your eyes act on that picture differently, that person sees a different painting than that person. So by your actions, you create a different room. You create a different painting and therefore a different room than I do up here, than Mr. Photographer down there. And the easiest example, if you have glasses like me and you take the glasses off, all of a sudden everything is blurry. And all of a sudden I act very differently, right? All of a sudden I act in this room a very different way and therefore perceive that room in a very different way. And therefore that room is a different one for me. So how we use our bodies to act in that creates different rooms and therefore different worlds. And this is the reason why Minecraft is so successful. It's because it allows people to act in this world. There's a zillion different ways to act in that world. Because people have these different options to act in that world. They, for a zillion more times, believe in that world that they are created. That is the beauty of Minecraft. It directly applies to game design. Okay. That was the body in action makes our world. Now I'm going to talk about the body in action is emotion. I want to give you a picture, an example, therefore, of a bear. Try to make that talk country context relevant. Bears, and here's a bear, and William James, psychologist for 150 years ago, he had this great insight that he only now can actually prove that he was kind of right. He had this thing where he said, if you are, he took the example of hiking through the woods, and if you hike through the woods, all of a sudden you see a bear, right? He said, until now, what we thought is happening is that your eyes perceive the bear, send something to the brain that goes, oh, fear, bear, that then sends a message to your heart. The heart goes up, and your palms gets ready, and then you choose to flee. Be a fight depending how strong you are. But William James says this is actually not what is going to happen, right? And we now know that it's right. He says if you go to the woods and you all of a sudden see a bear, your eyes perceive the bear, but then your heart rate goes up, and your palms gets ready, and that signals to your brain that there's fear happening. Then you experience fear. So your body produces these emotions. That comes first. So in other words, your body makes these emotions, and therefore without a body you wouldn't have emotions. Your flesh produces emotions. And that again directly applies to computer gaming. Because there's Rock Band, right? There's Rock Band got to do with the bear a lot. Because if you remember Rock Band, right? They gave Rock Band to a bunch of people who never played Rock Band before, and they played Rock Band, right? And afterwards they asked them, how much do you like Rock Band? And they went, oh, very much, great, 9 out of 10. That's it, right? Then they gave Rock Band to another bunch of people, and let them play Rock Band, and they played Rock Band, but this time they told them about the power-up, the rock star move, when you do that, right? It says on the screen right now, power-up, move, enabled, and you can do that, and then you get triple the points. And that was the only difference between the two conditions, right? And these people who did that rated the enjoyment of their game higher. They said it was 9.5 out of 10. So enjoyment increases if you just do that simple move, right? It was very, very nice, but we kind of expected that. What I found really amazing was that the people who did this simple move actually believed more that they could be rock stars in their life. They believed they could be rock stars more than the other people. Just by doing that, right? And that's the reason why the Nintendo Wii was such a success. When you played tennis, right? It didn't help you play better tennis, but it made you believe that you could be a tennis player, a better tennis player in real life. So with this movement came this emotion and a belief that you can be a better person. And that's the power of the body as well. Again, we try this out. If I can all get you to stand up again, please. Yeah, please. I'm going to do the power pose, which is you put your hands up, and that's the move that you do when you cross the finish line. Right? I win, I'm in power, I'm great. That, I predict to you, makes you happier with the confidence than if you don't do that move. As simple as that. That's all you have to do, right? If you design something, make people put their hands up, they're going to be happier. And if you even have a pen, you make people put that pen in your mouth, because if you do that, you make them smile. Right? You just put your lips up and it looks like smiling. And if you make people smile, they get happier. And that's why the Kinect takes pictures of you and tells you that it's going to take pictures. Because they know that you're smiling as soon as somebody tells you, hey, there's a picture coming up. And because you smile, you're going to like the Kinect better than the Sony. That's as simple as that. Thank you. I just want to situate it now in related verb, right? Because I know a lot of you know about tangible interaction, right? Tangible interaction taught you a lot about objects, and the shape is important of objects, right? The body of physical objects is important. The way they look, the way they feel, absolutely, we know that. And here's like, you know, a table where you can play with these physical objects to make music. And I think we just started to begin the benefit of the body of these physical objects rather than digital ones. But what I'm really interested in is here, that person, that player, the user that is operating these tangible objects. Because he or she is acting with the body. These objects are not acting. You are acting. And here is this black hole that we hardly understand at all. So my personal desire is to understand this black hole a bit more, understand what is going on there. I think we kind of have a small spotlight of what's going on with these experiences so far. And my goal is to enlighten that a bit further. So what I want to show you now is a couple of examples of projects where we're trying to do like these little baby steps towards seeing the body as play, right? Towards this bigger step that we're striving for. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples and hopefully inspire you for your own project to consider the body as play. A couple of the examples are more playful than others. Some are more gamey than others. Some are more exertion than others. Some are, you will see, some are less exertion. But overall, they kind of span this design space. And I can't go through all of them, so I'm just going to give you a few highlights across the spectrum. And you will see how they then fill out that entire game space. Okay, first project I want to talk about is the Luma, where we again took the body into the center of the experience and thought, we have all these displays now in our city, all over the place, and that was a very city-centric view. What if we take a body-centric view and turn the body into a display? And we looked at a helmet and actually augmented that helmet. And I've got a little video to show you what happened there. So at the Exertion Games Lab, we researched the intersection between technology, the play, and the body. Because we believe we sit way too much in our work lives, and we want to get people excited about being physically active again.
What we've been working on for the past couple of months is a helmet that is able to show information to the outside world. We did that by turning it into a kind of low-resolution display, by covering it with LEDs. And all of these LEDs are multicolored and we can control them individually, which means that you can display patterns on it, numbers, colors. And what we've been thinking about is, what does it mean when your helmet becomes interactive? What does it mean when it can show information about yourself? And we've been talking with different user groups that use helmets in their activities, like cycling or skateboarding or construction workers, and we asked them, what would you do with a helmet that has this kind of capability? How could it help you in your activities? Helmet is a static object that is there to protect us when we fall, and for the rest of the time it's just there, it's not doing anything. So we thought, this is perfect. We have this object that is clearly visible to everybody else and that we can use as a means of communication.
The research is important because we believe if we make wearing a helmet more engaging, more fun, we can actually not only facilitate more people to wear helmets, which can increase safety, but also inspire us to think about how technology can create new opportunities for engagement and get really people to think about how we can facilitate and inject play back into physical activity to get people excited about moving their bodies again. So that's the Luma helmet. And I want to highlight here just one finding. There were several, but just one here, that the body is a display, right? I mentioned that, and I was particularly proud when I didn't realize that there is actually a play display. That's my case. And here the body is a dynamic display, right? Because we already have clothes, that's a way of displaying the world, but now we can make it dynamic. And what we created with this work is we came up with a design space of 3 dimensions. Accessibility, influences, and interpretation as ways of looking at the body as dynamic display. And I'm not going to go into details of these 3, but instead I'm going to highlight one aspect that kind of sits in this 1,00 space of novel social play. Because what happened was with the Luma helm, so we gave the Luma helm to cyclists in pairs of 2 and displayed heart rate, right? That was the heart rate functionality. So they can see each other's heart rate and we send them off cycling. We just wanted to see what happens if you can actually see your partner's heart rate, but you can't see your own, right? Very different than if I have a Polar app or something similar. So too on my phone, because these things allow me to see my heart rate, and the person next to me can't see my heart rate because it's a private device. But through Twitter integration, somebody in India can see my heart rate. If I have the body as a dynamic display and put heart rate on my helmet, it's the other way around. The person in India can't see my heart rate, but the person next to me can see my heart rate, but I can't see my own. And that changes how I cycle. Because what the cyclists told us that happened was, of course, they turned it into competitions, right? Competition is a very powerful play aspect, and that was good, but we can't expect it, right? That competition who gets their heart rate up. But what I really found interesting was they also invented this thing called meditation cycling. And meditation cycling goes like that. You cycle, you go into low gear, and you cycle as fast as possible to get your heart rate up. But then you talk to your, so you go as fast as possible, but then you talk to your cycling partner to get his or her heart rate as low as possible. And you talk in a soft, soothing voice. And you say, imagine it's Sunday on a beach, and you're all calm. And all of a sudden they invented this new type of cycling, all by now going super fast. And it was only enabled because we gave them the opportunity to see the body as a dynamic display. New form of play enabled just by that. Next project I'm going to show you is Dr. Giggles, which Ruth really blew me away because she is a student, but also a certified laughter therapist. And she said she wants to help children in hospital, and these are severely sick children with cancer at an advanced stage who have gone through a lot of severe treatment, right, chemo. That is often a very traumatic experience for them and their family. And she said that we can actually learn from complementary care. We know from complementary care that can actually facilitate a quicker recovery process. But she said, I don't want to do what most of the other games programs do with kids in hospital, which is they try to distract the child from the hospital experience. Often they give them a head-mounted display, right, the biggest form of distraction, and transport them into somewhere else, a virtual world, far away from the hospital. She said, no, I want to take a body-centric approach and realize that the kid is actually in hospital, dealing with the hospital environment, the family is dealing with the hospital environment, and I want to support that experience or desensitize the children to the hospital environment. So she started off with giving kids these opportunities to craft as part of the workshop. So these kids were crafting with their families, and the materials she gave them were materials from the hospital that they've seen in the hands of doctors all the time, such as x-rays. And then she taught them how to make these shadow puppets of their x-rays. These are really beautiful little animals made out of pictures of their bodies. And for the first time, the kids could experience these bodily representations of the body as a resource for play. And then we scanned them in, and then they were playing these digital versions where they were in an inverse hospital environment where everything was upside down, where they were all of a sudden the doctor. And there was a patient who had the photo of the real doctor, and they had to cure the doctor now. They became the doctors, and the doctor became the patient. And they had to cure the doctor with laughter. And the way to make the doctor laugh was operating that X-ray machine, by pressing the X-ray machine. The shadow puppets they created earlier came out of that X-ray machine because we scanned them in beforehand. And all of a sudden these shadow puppets were appearing there, and they had to use them and form stories around them to make the doctor laugh and then cure the doctor. So again, she actively engaged them with a hospital experience rather than distract them. And she also made them develop these beautiful glove puppets made out of operation gloves and band-aids and all that material that the kids knew from their doctors. And because they were there with their parents, they were super proud of being able to explain to their parents what they were called, what they were for, and all of a sudden empowered them to have like a privileged knowledge role in terms of knowing something more than their brothers and sisters and their parents. And we were really pleased to then see that they used these physical objects that they created, these embodied characters. So I should say that these gloves then go in an augmented glove, right? And then they were operating that 3D world with that augmented glove and their puppets. And then we were really pleased to know that they used them to decorate their room, they decorate their wheelchair, they decorate their IV drips, and started to begin a process of making, being empowered and taking control of their hospital environment and therefore hopefully the hospital experience. And just because it's a different approach to see the body as play. And in particular, one of the results was that the parents then appreciated being able to, they said things such as, it was the first time we actually took a picture, a photograph of our child in hospital. Because it was the first time we didn't see our kid just as having a sick body, but rather as a body that can be creative and playful. We love to share the picture with our folks at home, right? And they loved talking to other parents about that, because they said for the first time we didn't talk about the sickness, about the chemotherapy of our child, but we actually talked about our child being creative. So it changed the whole family dynamic. And here, the important thing is to see that even a sick body is a resource for play. And it's often that these limitations are actually resources for really rich experiences. And again, I thought we'd try this out, and I brought these along. So if I get all to maybe share, one or two of you, make teams, and spread these around. Let's see if that works. And then the second one, should have one, open it up and take one of these nice little sweets. There you go. Let's try it. There's plenty there, just might have to share. So just open open the package. Yeah. Open that up. And hold one in your hand, don't take it in your mouth yet. You get some too, don't try. All good. Voila. Nice little treat for you. Some for you, pass it around. One each. And then one short. For you, pass it there. That's the one. Thank you. Yeah, you pass the one there. Great to go. Beautiful. Thank you. So you all take one out. Take one out. Yeah, try this one out. You love me or hate me? Take one out. You've got one. Great. I want to see limitations of the body, how to reach experiences, right? So I want you to now turn to a partner, make teams of 2 or 3, two or three, have one in your hand, right? 4 teams, 2 or 3, look at each other, good opportunity to get to know each other, there's more opportunities tonight at the dinner, right? You have one there, very simple. I want you to put it into your partner's mouth. And I want you to do that with your eyes closed. Do that now. Close your eyes anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. You drop one, take another one. Close your eyes, put it into each other's mouth. That's all I'm asking. Put it into your mouth. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed, there's plenty there. That's fine. Put that piece into each other's mouth, keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed. So if you now keep your eyes closed, it looks beautiful. Very close, very close. Keep your eyes closed, and now just savor that little piece of sweetness, or sour, whichever flavor you pick. Close your eyes and experience that play in your mouth that is going on with that piece of sweet and your tongue and the back of the throat. And just savor that experience. And I hope you're with me when I tell you that what you experience is a much richer experience because of the limitation of taking your eyesight away. So by having a limitation of your body, it's not necessarily something that is bad. It can also enrich or facilitate a much richer experience than without. I think it's a really simple exercise to see the body as play, right? You didn't just use your interface and your tongue as an interface, right? You see the body's limitations as a resource for rich play. And it often happens in a social context, and that facilitates even richer experience. And I think the same thing you saw there that happens in the kids. Thank you. That was our little experiment. Quickly, I want to also show you this other project, very different, but still seeing the body as play, where we interviewed joggers and found out that a lot of joggers don't jog to become the fastest runners in the world, but they jog because of the social aspect. But what happens if you don't have a social part? Can we actually have an embodied system, like a quadcopter, be a jogging partner? It can be very different to your Nike Plus app on your mobile phone. And we're lucky enough that we had, they've got a science show on TV, and they came around and showed a video about that. I'm going to show you just the first video of that.
It can be hard sometimes to find the motivation to go for the morning run. What I need is a personal trainer. Or a robot. This is JoinGame, a flying robot. It's one of the projects being developed in the Exertion Games Lab at Melbourne's RMIT.
So, what we are interested in the lab is the intersection between the body, play, and technology. And sports and exercise is a form of play for us. And we believe the way to explore this is by actually creating these type of experiences that we see can happen in 10 years' time. So that's why we designed JoinGame in order to understand how it would be to interact with an embodied flying system.
JoinGame is based on a commercially available quadricopter.
And what we've done is now we kind of repurpose it for being a jogging companion. So we changed the software around, and what it does now, it's got a little camera, and with the camera we track the jogger. In fact, the jogger's t-shirt, we put a special marker on, and program the software so that it always knows where the jogger is and stays at a certain distance. And then we modify the distance to understand how people react to the jogger when they're exercising.
Okay, so the camera, that's the camera there?
That's the camera there, yes.
So we can look under the box?
Sure, yeah. So there's a sensor that measures the altitude.
So you can choose whether it flies at this height or this height.
So yeah, we did the software that does that because we want to figure out what does it actually mean if the JoinGame flies like on chest level, what happens if it flies higher, right? You know, if this takes on the role of a coach, if the coach looks down to you, what does it do to you? What if it changes if it flies lower? Is it more like a dog when it actually is much lower? So these are the kind of questions we really want to explore.
So basically, if you're walking up to it, there might be a chance that you're feeling slightly inferior to it, and you'll do what it says. Or if you're looking down on it, you'll say, no, I'm not going to run faster.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I can't put it off any longer. It's time to do some jogging.
So I'll skip forward here because I want to highlight one of the results. Well, the result here was the robot's exertion can support the human exertion investment, facilitating connectedness. What do I mean by that? Well, you all know that quadcopters run out of batteries very quickly, right? They don't work really well in the wind, not to mention the rain, and they make a lot of noise. And we initially thought these are like engineering challenges that we need to technically fix, right? But when we showed this to joggers, and again we had joggers jogging around in the park with them, we found out that this is actually something that the joggers appreciated. Because they said, no, it's okay that the battery runs out because my battery also runs out. And it often pushed me to go, I'm going to last at least as long as the battery lasts. So I actually went a bit further than I usually would. And I also don't like jogging in the wind and in the rain. And if I therefore can't, that's just fine. And I also get louder when I get more exhausted. I start puffing more. And the quadcopter, the JoinGame is also doing that. And because there was now a system that was also exerting, like my body was exerting, they facilitated a closer connectedness. I mean, they, for example, gave the JoinGame a name. And you would probably agree with me that you would never rename your Nike Plus app on your phone. But if it's an embodied character that also exerts, you do. And that's the difference to see the body as play. Next project I want to talk about is the adventures of Sarah. Because Sarah in the lab wanted to climb Mount Everest. So huge undertaking. It took over a year in preparation, physically, mentally, financially. It's a big thing to climb Mount Everest. And she made it to base camp 0. And with all the challenges that come along with any adventure, and I think we can learn a lot from adventures when we climb games, such as all of a sudden the challenge of really cold temperatures, all about it here. But then we also know what happened on the 24th of April this year. The most severe earthquake in the last 83 years happened in Nepal. 22 people were killed on the mountain, 8,000 died in Nepal alone, and tens of thousands were affected. And Sarah made it home, safe and alive, great. And of course, she never got to climb Mount Everest. So when she came back, we actually sat down and thought about, okay, where was technology actually helping in your adventure, and where was it hindering you? And I think we found some really interesting insights that can help us support adventure in any type of play experience that we want to create. Because adventure is all about supporting human values. And this is what we did. We came up with this design space again, where on the one hand, technology should support the instrumental aspect of an adventure. And that's like, climbing. Climbing up to the peak, that's your instrumental goal. And the technology helped with that, right? But it wasn't just all about the instrumental aspect, because otherwise we would just take a helicopter and go over there. No, she actually wanted to hike, wanted to see the scenery, experience the challenge, engage with the fellow hikers. So technology also needed to support the experiential aspect of the adventure. And it's very similar to a lot of the games that we develop. But in addition to adventure, we have this perpendicular dimension where the expected things happen. Right? And we buy technology to support these expected things. You go to the adventure shop and you buy things to hope be able to help you when these expected things happen, such as a small avalanche. And people really thrive on the knowing that you're well prepared, and technology is really good at that. So when you buy these things, you're not just buying them to be prepared, but it also makes you happy to be prepared. And that facilitates that experience of adventure. But as you saw in the case of Sarah's adventure, it wasn't just about the expected, it was also about the unexpected. Right? And I think the earthquake was a very, very unfortunate unexpected component. But I think it would be also foolish to think technology should remove all the unexpected. Because then it wouldn't be adventure anymore. Every adventure has an element of unexpected. And technology should support that unexpected component. And if you look at this now, you can see that there's 4 distinct areas. And you can label them. And you can now say that technology should or could support adventurers as a coach, as a rescuer, as a documentarian, and as a mentor. And by looking at these 4 roles as a way of lens to understand adventure, I think we can design better experiences. Especially, I think, play experiences that are outdoor and that involve some kind of physical risk. So these are the adventures by Sarah. The other project I want to mention is Copy-Paste Skate, because it nicely highlighted how we saw that skateboarding has been taken up by a lot of computer games, like Tony Hawk Pro and so forth. They learned a lot from skateboarding and skateboarding culture and took it into the digital world. We thought, what actually happens if we take them back into the skateboarding movement? And that's how Copy-Paste Skate came about.
Interactive technology has often been used to support sports, but mostly focusing on athletic performance. We wondered, what about extreme sports, such as skateboarding, which mainly focus on the experience of doing tricks rather than on athletic performance? We know very little about how interactive technology might be able to enhance the experience of doing tricks in skateboarding. Our response to this research opportunity is Copy-Paste Skate. Copy-Paste Skate is an interactive system that aims to support the experience of doing tricks in skateboarding by offering captivating and novel ways of reliving and reflecting on these tricks. The system captures movements of the board in life-size visualizations and then also complements these with slowed down audio recordings of the trick. To achieve a richer sensory experience, the entire floor vibrates and the rhythm of the board's movements across it.
Brings the trick to life, you know. Right. And I think that's what the vibration and the sound does.
It was kind of like thinking of what would be the craziest trick to make a weird line. Yeah. It was fun.
We've seen how the system can spark playful and creative exploration of new, unconventional tricks. But it can also heighten the sense of achievement of fiddle tricks or simple tricks that are otherwise considered mundane.
Skateboarding is an artistic form. It's adding another variable to that, like showing like skateboarding in a different light. I mean, literally.
So that was copy-paste skate. Here I want to highlight that the body is passion, right? These skaters didn't do skateboarding in order to lose weight. It's their passion. And with technology, we can now extend this passion. In particular, again, we created a design space. Here I want to highlight these persistent traces that you saw here. They facilitated self-expression because it allowed them to talk about it beyond the trick itself, beyond the 0.2 seconds it takes for the trick. In order to communicate with other skaters, but also bystanders, other people that don't know anything about skateboarding. And technology is really good at creating these persistent traces. Make something, a persistent trace that is not hard, or is difficult to at least grasp in your bare eye. A really great opportunity. Next project I want to show you is Thread Atoms, where we thought, what happens if, now that everybody is going to have a 3D printer in their home, what happens if we now actually print your physical activity?
I'm a very active person and I take my exercise seriously. I like to track my exercise using heart rate monitor. 92. Current mode of virtual interaction is limiting my experience. For example, I can't do much with the data apart from reading the screen. So today I'm exploring a new mode of interaction with the data. I measure the heartbeat out of this heartbeat pressure monitor. And then this data is sent to the Thread Atom application, which I can save into the USB stick. And now I can print this 3D object that is my heartbeat shape. So this is the heartbeat rate of the day, which I was having some running in the park in the morning. In the afternoon, I was like wandering around and did some shopping. And during the day, I was sitting in the office. These are the flower models of my heartbeat last 2 days. As my heart rate goes up, the length becomes longer. This is a dye model. I got it yesterday. So that each phase represents one zone and the amount of time I spend in that zone. These are my frog models. And as I exercise more, the frog becomes bigger. Each bubble you see here is how many hours I spend for exercising.
So here I want to highlight that the body is exerting, but now with technology we can transform that into new types of shapes and forms. And again, here I highlight the topography opportunities, change, exertion, engagement. Well, the topography means that you are decorating your physical environment with objects that are dear to you. And that's what you do in your living room when you put up postcards and photographs and souvenirs from your trips. But now if you can take your physical activity and turn that into a tangible object, you use it in the same way to decorate your environment. And because it's persistent in that environment, it's tangible, it facilitates different types of interactions with it. We had that, for example, when people came into people's homes, right, and saw the 3D printer, and they saw the little figurines on their computer screens at work. They asked about that, you know, what is that? Ah, it represents physical activity. What do you mean? And then they started talking about it. They started talking about their job. They started talking about the rain, when it was beautiful weather. They formed a story about that. You get a very different interaction than to your Nike Plus experience, where it affords talking about competition and achievement. If we have tangible representations, it affords storytelling about your job and your running or that physical activity. So you change how people talk about it, but give it different shapes. Then we thought, why don't we take that further, and instead of taking a plastic representation, what if you take actually and create a sports drink, and then do it like a barkeeper and create a spectacle out of that sports drink and how it's created. And that's Tasty Beats. So again, we install that into people's homes and then observe what happens. And here it highlights that the body is an energy cycle, obviously, and now we can augment that. And the augmentation facilitates deflection on the energy cycle's personal character. And I'll give you one example. What happened there is a couple who lived together and created a drink that was identically in terms of the content. But he said he drank hers because he was more thirsty. He finished his and then he wanted to drink hers. But he said it actually didn't taste good because it wasn't my data. So it changed the flavor for him, even though it was exactly the same. But if you know that it's representative of your data, it changes how you taste things differently. That's probably the same if you would do the same thing with the sweets. So we now created this sports drink, but then we thought, what can we take it even further? And that's the latest thing what we've done. We created a 3D printer that prints chocolate. Right? So we really want to now provoke thinking about an energy cycle of energy out and then chocolate in. What does that mean? And media got really excited about that and interviewed Rohit, who started that project. And we were just on the news, the national news channel, and this is what they reported about that.
Sweating up a storm is being rewarded with sweet treats as part of a new study. 3D printing technology is taking data from heart rate monitors and transforming the results into chocolate, Madeline Slattery explains.
It's a motivational message dripping in chocolate. Everything that's printed here is a reflection of Kate Russell's daily exercise.
I basically set an hour a day, and I got a straight face last night.
She's been wearing a heart rate monitor that connects to the printer. At the end of the day, it reveals how good or bad she's been using symbols and subtle hints.
If the person has done a lot of exercise, then it would say, well done mate. If the person hasn't done much exercise, he would still get a chocolate, but the message would be slightly different.
Rohit came up with the technology after finding results on fitness apps lacked imagination.
Why not make it much more tangible and cherish it?
It can even print what the user's heart rate looks like over the day. For Kate, it's a fun way to gauge how her fitness goals are tracking.
It takes you away from all your screens because you have to actually watch something that's not the screen.
The reason chocolate is being used is because it's one of the best mediums for 3D food printing, not to mention something most people enjoy. But it's just a small treat. Each printout contains just 2 squares.
dark chocolate which you are using also have some form of health benefits.
Even so, dietitians think a spoonful of sugar shouldn't be an incentive for breaking a sweat.
But I'd suggest that it wasn't a food that we were rewarded with. Maybe just the smiley face or the frown face would be enough.
Madeline Slattery, 9 News.
All right, so this is what the media thinks of that. I like his face. So this is what we're doing at the moment. So to sum up, right, I gave you basically our vision of experiencing our bodies as digital play, because I think that's a big opportunity to create really amazing games. And I gave you 3 themes to think about that might help you in realizing these amazing games. By A, the body needs action. B, the body action makes our world. Remember, it's the room that it creates. And 3, the body action is emotion. Winner pose. Just try that with your students every day in class. I love your lecture. And that's the take-home message. Leads me to the take-home message there. The body is a very, very powerful resource for digital play. With that, I'd like to send you home now. My name is Floyd Muller from the JoinGame Lab. That was my talk on body play. Thank you very much for having me.
Relates to traditional Chinese culture, IT.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a perfect example. And we actually did one of these exercises together. I think that's also important to recognize. If we design these games with the body as play, we need to also change the way we design. Right? I don't think we can design for an active body while sitting still in an office room and brainstorm, for example. But I need to actively engage. So I think engaging in Tai Chi or yoga or some other, we did just a 1-week summer school where we actually had the students do yoga in the morning. And then we did wakeboarding afterwards in the afternoon. Really experiencing the body as play. I think that's where ideas come from. So if you get the students to engage in Tai Chi or any other bodily activity, I think they want to design even traditional games such as the Xbox Connect very differently than if they just start thinking about these games. Because thinking generates a certain type of game experience and moving generates a different type of game experience. So you need to get your students to really do that. Pertu, he gave us the idea of doing rock climbing with the students. Right? You take your students rock climbing in the first one-on-one game programming class. And of course, that confuses a lot of traditional programs that go, why are you going to the gym to go rock climbing with your students when they should learn C# or whatever? No, it's because you need to engage your body in order to come with ideas that you then turn into projects via program. So I think, yeah, that's very important that we also change the way we design and ideate these games.
What is the composition of the background of the people in your laboratory? Are you, how much from technology? Do you have people from psychology, for example?
Yes, so it's all over the shop, right? So we really try, we actually never try to be multidisciplinary, it always turns out to be multidisciplinary. We're always looking out for people that complement the existing skill set that we have. Right, so of course we have people there who can program, we have people there who can design, but then we have people like Sarah who did the adventure on Mount Everest. She's actually a trained professional deep sea diver. That's how she originally made her money, by going deep sea diving for investigations and so forth. Right, so she knows a lot about that, and therefore she knows a lot about the body and how the body reacts in extreme situations. And then we have Ruth, as I said, she is a certified laughter therapist. So again, very different, but a very body-focused experience, right? Because she always teaches us, like, why don't we just all laugh? That's going to, advance the workshop or whatever it is we are doing greatly, and it does. But you wouldn't come up with that yourself, or I wouldn't necessarily, then just start laughing, right? And then I suggested to my dean in our faculty meetings, and we need to do a bit of convincing that there's actually a research behind that. So yes, a multidisciplinary approach is really, really important. And I'm always surprised that the expertise where they go, oh yeah, like that's way too off, are actually the most valuable ones, right? For example, like the skateboarding project would have never started off without Sebastian being not a pro skateboarder, but he's a very good skateboarder, right? So we're always trying to draw on these experiences that people have, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.